Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope you're well. Oh, that broke. What is this made out of? Plastic or something. I need a new phone holder. That was supposed to happen. Cologne fragrances are taking over the world, and they are very destructive. It's something that we just can't be saved from. And today, I'm gonna be going over 10 of the top offenders. The cologne fragrances that are taking over the world. Ah, that sucks. I was just fighting the clones, man, the Clone Wars. This is made out of like tinfoil. All of these are gonna be linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down there. We will begin with this one, Rayhaan Terra. This guy right here is just getting gently glazed all over the internet. All the typical hype beasts getting right up behind it and blowing smoke up its bottom, including myself, because it's actually really good. Yeah, that's how it is sometimes. So this one smells similar to Outlands by Armaf. It's right in that style, right in that wheelhouse, but this one is more of a twist. So it's not like a straight up one-to-one. To me, this one has taken the incense and tamped it down just a little bit. It's made it more approachable for more people. It still has that incense, still there. It's just been smoothened out and it's been given more of a nice deep sweetness. So you have more of those resinous facets, more of that warmth coming out in the opening and through into the dry down. Not as much of that like nose hair tickling incense vibe. The quality is high as a kite. The projection is fantastic as well. Rayhaan actually dropped a few fragrances all at the same time. This is one of them. And it is just like taking the brand to another level. Also Aquatica, which is one of the ones they released alongside this one. That one smells similar to Virgin Island water, and that is extremely well done. So check this one out, check Aquatica out. And then they also did Obsidian, which is Dior Homme Parfum, but it's kind of like in between. It's like not exactly the OG Dior Homme Parfum, not exactly the new one. It's just kind of like a bit of both, maybe leaning a little more toward the new one. At least that's how it comes across to me. Look at this dude, the top flew off, the whole friggin' thing just exploded. That's what I get for buying one from Amazon. Had to get it prime. French Avenue Thunder. Up next, they've been listening to too much Imagine Dragons. And they were like, hey, that's sick. I love that beat. It's like straight up dad rock. Dad pop rock, I don't know. So Thunder has a big old elephant head as the cap, and that gives you a hint as to what this smells similar to. And that fragrance is the Omniscient Mr. Thompson, which is quite a name, from Penhaligon's, which also has an elephant head as the cap. But not the same style as this one. This one is very much like, what is that? Kind of an 80s neo-future style? I'm not sure. I don't even think that's a thing. So it's got iris in here, it has vanilla, it has tonka, absolutely perfect for this time of year. Has kind of a creamy consistency to it. It is sweet, it's elegant, classy. Also could kind of bump up a little bit against like Dior Homme Intense, that type of fragrance because of the iris that's in here, which means it could also remind you of Valentino Uomo Intense, Narciso Rodriguez Blue Noir, a Parfum, things like that. But again, the Penhaligon's is what it's actually closest to. And once again, longevity through the roof. This one lasts forever. Or if you've ever seen The Sandlot, forever. If you haven't seen The Sandlot, what are you doing? It's a prerequisite. If you exist, you have to have seen The Sandlot. Do it. Let's talk next about this one. This is a recent pickup of mine from JOMASHOP. It is Hamdan the Brave by Arabiyat Prestige. Doesn't really tell you too much as far as the name, presentation style, you know, it's not a lot to go off of. And this one is a fragrance that's not really a straight up one-to-one of anything, at least as far as I'm aware of. The fragrance has a great blast of cardamom when you first spray it on. It's a little bit green and fresh at the same time, has a nice slight warmth to it, little touch of sweetness, not too much, lavender in there as well, and then some woodiness underneath as it dries down. This one, again, not really like a one-to-one of anything, but it has a little bit of a Sauvage Elixir adjacent feel to it, but then with an amplified cardamom being the focus, especially in the opening as it heads through the mid as well. And so because of that cardamom, you could find a little similarity to things like La Nuit de l'Homme in there, the original La Nuit. So yeah, that's probably the easiest way to think of it right off the top, is just a bit of a blend, Sauvage Elixir meets La Nuit de l'Homme. Not as aggressive with the woods, not as aggressive with the spices as Sauvage Elixir, but with a little more oomph behind it than La Nuit. Just one of those fragrances that'll help set you apart when it's cool outside. The next one is a monster. It doesn't really look like one. In my opinion, it actually looks really cheap outside of the gradient, but it smells awesome. Before we get to that one though, let's get to some codes. So if you're shopping for clone fragrances or just fragrances in general, you can use these across a bunch of different websites. Lucky Scent, the Perfume Box, Frag Flex, Gift Express, all at your fingertips. Use these codes, save yourself some money. So the one I was talking about is this one. This is Atrelia's Absolute Chill. Now, as I said, to me, it looks a bit cheap. To be fair to Atelier though, they are a newer brand, so, you know, gotta take that into account. It's just like this little sticker that they slap on here with the stock cap that weighs nothing and like the stock bottle. It looks not the greatest. It's just the whole stock vibes of it, I guess. But the atomizer, fantastic. So you get a pass for the presentation when you do this. As a cloud, this bottle is vaping and it is unchained. Like this stuff is nuts. Off the rip, this is apocalyptically strong for this style of fragrance. Black currant, citrus, mint, tea, all of it as soon as you spray it on. Obviously, it's supposed to smell similar to Pacific Chill. I mean, it is named Absolute Chill and has a similar gradient style. It is though absolutely ramped up compared to Pacific Chill. So when you spray this on, like I said, it is just a blast. Like this stuff will slam you in the face way more than the Louis Vuitton will. Some people are gonna like that more, other people are gonna like that less. Almost overloaded with the citrus in here, kind of a tropical feel to it as well when you first spray it on. If that's what you're after though, just an unholy, powerful Pacific Chill twist, this stuff about as good as you're gonna get. Then of course, Faris Al Arab. This is by Maison Asrar. This one came out the same time as Muharrab, which is a clone of Xerjoff's Naxos. That one is also really, really, really good. This one smells similar to Clive Christian's Blonde Amber. And if you know anything about Clive Christian, you know one thing about Clive Christian, which is that they are expensive. And it's like they almost get off on how expensive they are. I know that sounds weird, but I think that if there's any, like, if you wanna call them mainline niche brand out there who enjoys being expensive, it's them. And possibly Creed, but I think Clive Christian is more so just like, haha, we cost a lot, F you, haha. Like I have their fragrance #1. It comes in a gold bottle. And for the longest time, it said like the world's most expensive perfume or something like that. I don't know if it still does. I haven't looked up any of the new iterations, but that's what it used to say at least. So that lets you know they're kind of like, yeah, we're expensive and F you. So I know that's where I like to shop, you know what I'm saying? I like to go into a store and be insulted. That's like, it's pretty sick. Excuse me, sir, you don't look like you can afford to shop here. This is my kind of place. Fantastic quality on this one. A lot of the Maison Asrar stuff, really, really good, especially the newer ones coming out. So it has vanilla, kind of a cherry sweetness off the top as well. Good amount of spices in there, cashmere also. So it's like ambery, sticky sweet being balanced out by the woods and the spices. Fall and winter time, absolutely fantastic. And you should not be paying Clive Christian prices when something like this exists, or just in general. Unless you like setting money on fire, and then go for it. I mean, that's an option too. Then the new Club de Nuit. This one is called Bling, because of course it is. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna be doing a giveaway in today's video as well. Forgot to mention that earlier, so stay tuned for that. So as I said, this is the new Armaf Club de Nuit Bling. The inside of the bottle is indeed blinged out. And it's a very interesting presentation because this is actually larger than their normal size bottles, the normal Club de Nuit fragrances. But in fact, it is smaller. It holds 75 mils. Yeah. Go figure. The note breakdown here is quite interesting. It has citrus off the top, okay, normal. Vanilla and velvet woods in the base, which, you know, pretty normal. I mean, you could say velvet woods maybe is a little different, but yeah, it's not that crazy. And then in the mid, they were like, screw all that, stardust and flower prism. Because that's a thing. To be fair though, when it comes to marketing, I don't really mind it if I'm being honest with you guys. It keeps things a little interesting. I would much rather see that note breakdown than yet another designer fragrance coming out with a 3-note note breakdown that's something like lavender, geranium, and woods. Like, wow, cool. That's very exciting. You guys must have spent a lot of time on that. Great. So I will take the flower prism and the stardust. Do I know what those things smell like? No. but I'll go with it. And this one is a little bit interesting in how it opens up. It opens up quite rindy, actually. So the citrus that it has there off the top is not gonna be for everybody. Not at all. It's not the type of citrus that is mainly fresh and sweet with like a little touch of rind, like a touch of tartness. Something like, I don't know, terre Maison. Maybe that's something that has a little bit of that, like has a touch of rindiness, but not a whole heck of a lot. Then you have stuff like light blue forever that's kind of like split. It's just as equally rindy and potentially sour as it is fresh and a little sweet. This one is more like that. It's more towards the light blue forever side of things, of having more of that rindiness. Maybe even more so. So like I said, the opening here is not gonna be for everybody. Some people are gonna smell this, they're gonna get hit with that blast, and they're going to immediately be like, no, thank you. It could also come across to people a little bit heady, a little bit mango-ish, so like a mango citrus combination to an extent, but when I say that, don't think God of Fire, because that's not what this smells like. Then as it dries down, a little bit creamier, more musky. It's not really like a straight up one-to-one clone of anything that I'm aware of. I know a lot of people thought Chanel Allure Homme Sport Edition Blanche, but it doesn't smell like that. Just kind of its own odd duckling in the Club de Nuit lineup. But it is a Club de Nuit, which means people will talk about it for a while. Then there is this, Alpha Desire by Fomo. Whole new setup here with a magnetic cap. Don't pick it up by that, the magnet's not super strong. It is quite heavy though. And this one is quite similar, or similar-ish, to a discontinued fragrance by Issey Miyake, Noir Ombre. And that is expensive. But it's not the same as Noir Ombre. It actually is a little more of a contemporary take on that fragrance, if that makes sense. So with Noir Ombre, it has this undertone of incense to it, this bit of smokiness. Just the way all the notes work together give it a bit of that incense feel. And it's there in the opening, there in the mid, there in the dry down. It helps give it a little more depth, makes it smell more high-end, more expensive. Again, the Issey Miyake. In Alpha Desire, that is pretty much stripped out. So that aspect of the fragrance, I don't really get much of that at all. Instead, I get more of a smooth amber, more of like a almost vanilla tinged, you know, like Tonka amber combination vibe, which does make it more wearable for more people nowadays. Like if you were going for something that's more of an everyday kind of fragrance during fall and winter time, this would be more that than Noir Ombre is, for sure. Like if we're just talking about potential compliment factor, stuff like that, that's where this one would win out. But if you're talking about a little more of the high-end feel, a little more of like the fragrance lover's fragrance, that's probably gonna be Noir Ombre, because it does have a little more of that going on. Now this still smells great, and as far as alternatives to Noir Ombre, there really aren't many. Aren't any? Yeah, it's pretty rough out there for people wanting something like that on the cheap. So this does fill that gap, and it is well done. Just don't go into it expecting it to be a one-to-one, because it's more with a twist. And so is this, Asad Elixir by Lattafa. Yeah, Asad Elixir. So they did the original Asad, which was a clone of Sauvage Elixir. Then they came out with Asad Elixir, which is not a clone of an elixir, but is a clone of an Absolute, Boss Bottled Absolute. Now, Bottled Absolute is awesome. That's one of my favorite designer fragrances, especially right now, fall, winter time, perfect. Perfection. And this does a very good job at emulating that fragrance. It gets pretty close. One of the main differences between Asad Elixir and Bottled Absolute, which is right over here, is the patchouli. You get way more patchouli in Bottled Absolute. As soon as you spray that one on, big blast, big bunch of patchouli. Smells also similar to Parfums de Marly Carlisle, talking about Bottled Absolute, and I guess to an extent this as well. But yeah, a lot of patchouli in Bottled Absolute. It's very smooth, it's elegant, semi-chocolatey, a little bit woody. This one has patchouli for sure, just not quite as much of a punch when you first spray it on. This one is slightly fresher, a little bit easier to wear, I would say. So different fragrance, different style, and both of these smell different, but the idea here with the Asad Elixir is fairly similar to the one with Alpha Desire, which is, you know, take that DNA, but try to make it maybe just a little more approachable for your average everyday person. Maybe scrub some of those edges a little bit. That's kind of what they did. Still, it smells amazing. If you love Bottled Absolute, you will love that. Towards the end here, got a new hawas. This one is verde, which does have a nice gradient, kind of like this one, only this one The Atelier dark up toward the top, this one light. So it's kind of like similar ideas, but done differently, huh? Verde, when this was announced, everybody was like, oh, it's Pacific Chill, which makes sense. Everything is Pacific Chill nowadays, it feels like. But to me, it's actually closer to Torino 21 by Xerjoff. To be fair though, Torino 21 is kind of like in a similar style to Pacific Chill or vice versa. So that makes sense. It's just with Hawas Verde, you're gonna get more of that mint, more of that green aspect that comes through, which again, the name is Verde. So just did a quick comparison between these two for some reason. So yeah, Verde, most similar to me to Torino 21, but you could find some of a Pacific Chill vibe in there. Kind of underneath, working alongside the Torino 21. Those two fragrances do have a lot in common, of course. Performance, as you would expect from a Hawas, very strong, it lasts, it projects. And I would imagine heading into spring and summer of next year, you'll hear more about this one. It's just it kind of came out, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, as we're heading into fall and winter. So maybe not like the greatest time to release it, but what are you gonna do? And then the last one is another Hawas. This one is Kobra, spelled with the K, because that makes it cool and edgy. Kobra. This one is a little bit odd to me, just in the name and the fingerprint magnet bottle. You know, it's got this dark color scheme and everything. And so if you knew nothing about it, you would think that is a fall and wintertime fragrance. And it's probably gonna be pretty masculine, pretty big punch, because again, it's Kobra with the K. That's like extreme, but missing the E. So it just starts extreme. Kobra. Actually, imagine that. They come out with a flanker years down the road and it's Kobra Extreme. They should lean into it. And this one, this is going to be a fragrance that smells quite similar to Imagination by Louis Vuitton. So that ginger, citrus, tea, musk, all of that, you're gonna get it here. Everything is ramped way up in terms of performance. Again, it's the whole Rasasi Hawas thing. Yes, you get that here as well. So it's going to drastically outperform the original. Got a bit of that soapiness, that kind of like clean, soapy vibe that most of these Imagination alternatives have. This does as well. And kind of like Hawas Verde over here, heading into next year, next spring, next summer, this one probably will be talked about a whole heck of a lot because it already is being talked about it now when it's not really the best season for it. And there we go. There are the fragrances that are taking over the world and breaking my stupid $10 tripod. Technically, I broke it, but I'm gonna blame these fragrances. Let's do a giveaway. It is Atrelia's Elixir. Now, this is a special fragrance because, as you see, it's named Elixir. The way this functions is, all you have to do is wish and think about whatever elixir fragrance you want it to be, and it becomes that. Sauvage Elixir, boom, it's Sauvage Elixir. Invictus Victory Elixir, now it's that. Or, it's actually not true. Actually, it just smells like Lamal Elixir. Yeah, it's that one. No magic. It's pretty good though. There's that. If you want to be entered in the giveaway, you know what you have to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below, down below. In the comments, tell me which fragrance you see taking over the world. Or just what do you think is going to be pretty popular? That's all. I will post the winner on the post tab of the YouTube channel. And if you are the winner, you can hit me up and I will ship this to you. All right, guys, I want to thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.